Clover.
Let's
Hey,
get
hey.
homie.
This is right in the middle of schoolwork.
Oh, are ya? What are you guys learning today?
My littlest is learning his phonograms.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. How are
How-
you?
I'm not bad. I'm like a little under the weather, as I shared in Slack. So I'm
I know.
just like enough sick that like it's annoying, you know, like not sick enough where I'm like, oh, I need to cancel everything, but just kind of like.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, I don't want to, just let me lay in bed. What do you have after this?
I was supposed to have another cleaning job, but I rescheduled it. Like I
Okay.
moved her till tomorrow. It was another small job, and she's super flexible. So,
Okay, good.
I don't have anything after this. I do have some stuff that I want to do, like computer stuff, but
Yeah.
nothing major. So,
Well, good. Okay.
yeah,
Get some rest.
yeah, that's the plan. Well, and if nobody else shows up today, I might just not do this
Yeah,
call either.
exactly. For sure.
We'll see who's here.
Yeah. You did it. Okay. Now what do we have here?
Lion.
Sorry.
It's all good, yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Thing.
Is that there you go. Yeah, I'll mute and take off my camera whenever we get started, but or I guess I could do that now.
All good. Whatever you want. We'll just chill. We'll wait, and I'll give it some time. There's people that had RSVP'd to it, so
Yeah.
but maybe because it was on a different day, it might have like not worked with their schedule or whatever like that. So
Yeah, for sure.
we'll see. I'll just patiently wait. You can teach your little.
Yeah, perfect.
We'll see what happens.
Yes. Well, for your sake, maybe. I mean, I hate to wish that on you, but maybe we can just go. You can just go rest.
Yeah, I'm easy going with whatever happens, especially with these kind of events, right? Like I love teaching and connecting people with the info, but like I also like disassociating and like just being silent. So
Yes.
I'm prepared either way.
Well, good for you. Oh man, doing my first coffee chat, like I was so nervous. I don't do this kind of stuff. So like I get so nervous.
Yeah. That's normal. Like it's a pretty, I feel like I'm going to sneeze also. I might randomly sneeze. Kleenex like behind the computer here.
Yeah.
When like the inside of your nose is itchy, like that's what it feels like. Like it's like in here.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, it's not like a normal human thing to stand up in front of other people and talk, like there's only a certain type of human that is really supposed to be doing that. And like even being that type of human, there's a chance of like being mobbed, and like saying something wrong, and the mob throws you to the wolves kind of idea. So
Yeah.
it really is like a life or death fear in us. Like people fear public speaking more than death. Can you survey them?
Me. Yes, kill me.
Yeah, like I'll take that. Yeah, I still get nervous sometimes. Like now, less so now because I'm pretty regulated as a baseline, and I'm pretty confident in what I'm saying now. Like so it's not as bad. But like I struggled like intensely with stage fright for a long time, and like what I did to get myself over that was I just like threw myself into open mics and like speaking engagements. And I actually even got myself into a situation when I was like freshly getting into spirituality and life coaching. I was still working in fitness full time. Somehow I went from volunteering to participate in this series it's called Mo Mondays. And it was open mic for speakers, basically like a chance for people to come and like talk and share whatever. And there was an MC, and it was like a monthly thing. So I like volunteered to be a speaker at this event. And it was the last show that the two hosts were doing. And they're like, we need a new host. And I was like, well, I could do that. So I like applied to it. And the guy who organized it was based in Toronto, which is like 2 hours from where I live. So I went to Toronto, and I like met this guy, and I had like zero experience. I almost shit myself and like barfed at the same time when I had to like deliver
Yes,
my talk, right? I'm
I
like,
can
my
relate to
body's
that.
like, evacuate. I'm so scared, right? And I delivered this talk. He met me, saw my video of like how I performed. Oh, my computer's gonna die. I need to plug it in. But anyway, somehow I landed this. I ended up being the host of this show, and then went on to produce 6 months of shows before I started to be like, I don't want to do this anymore. And like, there was some, I don't know, I've always had issues with authority, right? And like being told what to do. So I ended
Yeah.
up quitting halfway through, but that's how I really got over my fear of public speaking, was by just forcing myself into like really
Gosh.
high pressure situations.
I know. We have this thing called Toastmasters. Do you guys have that in Canada?
I went to Toastmasters a little bit too. And
Yeah.
that was like a local chapter here, and that was something else. One of the Mo Mondays guys recommended I go do Toastmasters, so I did that. But
Yeah.
I didn't like like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm casting spells on myself when I say this, but like I feel like the black sheep everywhere I go. Like, I
Yeah.
have a really hard time
You
fitting
have to
in.
wait till it's over.
But I only did
Connie,
one
you're
episode.
here. Hello. Me and Brianna are just chit chatting because I wasn't sure if anybody was going to show up today or not. So I'm glad that you're here. Are you able to say hello? Hello. You've got a little way
Yeah,
too. Hello, little.
I'm having a little bit of a chaotic week. Maybe everybody is too, but I'm surprisingly chill. So
Nice. Well,
I'm glad to be here.
I am a little bit under the weather. I'm like having like my Kleenex like
Same
right here.
actually.
I might
I've
sneeze.
I've had this sinus stuff going on.
Yeah, like I'm feeling. My daughter was sick this week, and so she stayed home from school yesterday, and I started to feel a little bit unwell, and I have been just downing. I have colloidal silver, like I have a little machine that I make it with. So like the first whiff of like any sort of sickness, I'm just like down in colloidal silver. So I think that is like keeping it at bay. But yeah, I think that, I mean, seasonally, I don't know. I'm not sure what area you're in, Shawnee, but I'm in Ontario, like southwestern Ontario in Canada, and so it's we're having like seasonal changes with the hot and the cold. But I'm not sure that I fully believe in germ theory is like the only reason that we get sick. So I also, and I mean, this is how I view everything. View literally everything through a spiritual lens. You know, like there's some sort of like greater significance to literally everything that happens, and like I think my body is telling me that I'm doing too much. That I need to take a minute and like fucking whoops, try not to swear. Like just chill.
I can relate to that so much.
Oh, well, and you're neurodivergent also, Shadi. I think you shared, right? Like, you're autistic too?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and it's an energy expenditure thing. You know, when I find that if I push through burnout, like, you know, I've the last couple of cycles for me. So I work cyclically with my menstrual cycle, and like the last couple of cycles, I have not honored my cycle enough, and like not given myself enough time off, and I've been working really hard on a lot of things that are meaningful to me, but like it's still, there's only so much energy. Like when you're neurodivergent and you're baseline, like you're literally perceiving so much more in the environment than the average person on a day-to-day basis. Like right now I can hear my fridge making a noise and it's bothering me. Like, there's also another humming sound coming from somewhere else in the building, you know, like, so just hearing and feeling all of that on a day-to-day basis, I feel like requires more rest. And when we don't take it, then my body like objects in a really loud way. But anywho, my plan for today was not just to complain about being a little sick and burnt out, but I was thinking just a bit more of a casual chit chat today. This segment is meant to be kind of like a metaphysical variety hour for me to just, you know, almost like I had a podcast for a few years during COVID, and like it was just me talking to my phone in my car about whatever I felt motivated to talk about. And so I kind of felt that coming through for today's session. we're, I'll go through the astrology. So I did prepare. I have like a little screen. Shoot, what am I trying to say? Screen, a slideshow with today's energy on it, to just kind of talk about that and the upcoming new moon that we have, because we've been living in really interesting energetic times, like the astrology and like the successive waves of everything is really just it's giving like the dismantling of the patriarchy and making way for the matriarchy, which I want to clarify, maybe even on that note, that none of that has to do with gender, right? It's not like men, like masculine humans who have appendages that relate to that, as far as their physical vessel is concerned. It's not like those people are benefited by the patriarchy, even though they may seem to be in some cases. But it's like a power dynamic, because the matriarchy is actually the way that we're meant to operate, in the sense that the masculine is meant to serve the feminine. This comes from the fourth wave philosophy. So the fourth wave mystery school teachings, really, I would say, out of everything that I've studied, which has been a lot of metaphysical topics, the fourth way underpins most of what I like. Most of the ideologies that I hold, or like the way that I operate in the world, is boiled down to fourth way, which is essentially they call it the way of the sly one, because traditionally, to reach enlightenment, or an enlightened state, which is, I mean, what is enlightenment, right? Maybe we should talk about that too. So like, enlightenment technically is the process of creating more space in your being. It's moving from an experience of more density, or like heaviness, less space between the matter. And when we're operating from that place of more density, less space, we are under the illusion of separation and the forgetting that we are connected to everything. Because the ultimate truth, you'll find this in every single metaphysical tradition, no matter what way you study it, you'll get to this point of the ultimate truth being the oneness, or the singularity. The remembering, the whole journey in this meat suit is to remember that you are one with literally everything around you. And when you're operating from that state, you can't ethically do bad things, right? Like, and if you do, that it's affecting you, right? So the goal is to kind of reach that state. Not to say like that there's a value judgment on that, like it's better to be enlightened and it's shitty to be operating under more laws or more density, but it's just part of the experience. The Hermetic principles talk about polarity and correspondence. And, we need, for every person who's reaching enlightenment or moving towards a more spacious state of being, there needs to be somebody who's anchoring in the opposite end of that, right? So the fourth way essentially teaches how to go from a position where you're operating under the illusion of separation, forgetting the interconnected nature of humanity, having the experience of autonomy in your body as your own independent being, and the mind, it's important to explain, I think, at this point too, that under that mode of operation, the mind itself is your primary mode of navigating the world. Now, the human body has 3 brains, actually: the one in your head, your heart, and your gut. And physiologically, there is more information that travels up the vagus nerve from your gut to your brain. Because the brain in your head, which we've been taught in our society, the inverted society, the overculture, has taught us to use our head to intellectualize everything, because this reinforces the illusion of separation and the density and the forgetting, right? The brain in your head is only in charge of making sure that you don't die, your hormones, and like sexual reproduction, seeking pleasure, and not dying, basically, right? So like, when you're using your head and you're intellectualizing and you're looking outside of yourself, you're basically only capable of surveying the environment for threats and doing the same thing that you've already done, because the overriding goal of the brain in your head is to save energy also, right? So it cuts corners. The brain is fallible. Like, you know, you can look at, there's so much, there is so much science. There's so many studies in psychology about like how the brain makes mistakes all of the time. And it is easily tricked, and confirmation bias and self-fulfilling prophecy fill in the gaps. Basically, the brain will find whatever it thinks it or wants to find, right? Or what it's already found. Because again, that homeostasis or following the neural pathways that are easily traveled is what the brain wants to do, because it saves energy. And ultimately, the brain wants you to conserve energy so that you can have babies and not die, right? So the fourth way teaches you how to move from that, like the baseline that we're all born into, that forgetting. Again, I can't reiterate this enough. Like it is a necessary part of the experience of being a human, right? Like you need that forgetting in order to be able to have the experience of being in a body and like doing things to another, receiving things from another, right? And so the fourth way teaches you how to go from that mode of operation through conscious observation. This is why they call it the way of the sly one, because the other ways, like you can reach it through like overriding the needs of your body, right? So like yoga, if you go far enough in that path, you'll reach enlightenment. Or like you have to give up the needs of your body. You have to give up, I can't remember what the other two. There's three of them, and the fourth way is the fourth one. The way the sly one. I'll have to read up on my notes. I can't remember what the other two, but it's basically like having to give up a part of yourself in order to reach enlightenment is like the traditional path, right? So the fourth way, the way of the sly one, is being able to maintain your presence and like functionality in your human vessel, but you become the conscious observer of literally everything you're doing. And there's 3 different languages that the fourth way is expressed through: either mathematics, sound, like music, or colors, because those are it's the same language, just expressed differently. They're universal languages. So the teacher that I learned the fourth way through was very much mathematically inclined, at, like, you know, systems and numbers, which is not my strong point. I'm like an intellectual genius, like literally like IQ like 160. And I got like 50s in math in school because like I just didn't get it, and I didn't want to get it, so I didn't care. So, anyways, the point with this is that I'm like, I can't remember why I was talking about the fourth way, but essentially this underpins everything that I'm doing. In the sense of understanding, oh yeah, it was the masculine. I'm like, where was the thought? Where did this tangent come from? How can I circle back? It was talking about the masculine serving the feminine, and the astrology, the transits that we've been experiencing have been these successive waves of moving us away from that old paradigm where we're externalizing, intellectualizing, operating under the illusion of separation and looking outside of ourselves. And in order to get out of that one, you also have to create safety in your being, as you know. And it's curious that everything in our society poisons and fearmongers us because they want to reinforce this illusion of separation. But ultimately, the way creation works, according to the fourth way, law of 3 in particular, is that in order for anything to come into being, there's 3 opposing forces, right? Like you've got your masculine, your feminine, and your neutral, your incubating force. I feel like I need to. I want to blow my nose into the microphone. And the best example of this is conception of a baby, right? So like for a baby, a fetus to turn, like a clump of cells to turn into a baby, whatever, you need the masculine sperm, the feminine egg, and the womb, right? The incubating space for the masculine and the feminine to come together. But the masculine is serving, like the contracting doing force is serving the feminine. The feminine egg is expanding and receiving. Okay, it's the vacuum, the expanding consciousness. And so you can't, like, that's really the starting point, right? Is we need that egg to expand to accept the masculine energy in. and then the incubating towards blank space, right? So like our society, the way that we've been operating under the patriarchy, hustle, grind, external locus of control, putting your authority outside of yourself, is basically like just having three masculine components, right? And like in my women's circles that I facilitated in person, we were talking about getting a tattoo with like this analogy, like a triangle with just three dicks, because I would cite that analogy in circles so often, right? Because like that, nothing's getting done with that. You know, you might have some fun depending on who you are, but you're not making a baby in that way, right? So that basically is what we're moving away from. And the transits that we've been experiencing are dismantling that. And the thing with astrology, and specifically even this lens of astrology, right? Like astrology, as the Western, like mainstream knows, you know, tropical, has been made into a farce because everything, like we're magical creatures, that is the truth of being a human, but like the inverted society doesn't want you to know that you're magical, because then you can figure out what's going on and stop giving your consent to the system that is farming us and putting us into a situation where we're disadvantaged, right? So tropical astrology is not only like an incomplete system because it's based on a static sky. It doesn't take into celestial cycles. It doesn't include the 13th sign of Fucus. But it's also just been like bastardized as this like silly woo-woo thing, you know, that like you're like, you must be crazy or like, you know, some spiritual woo person in order to believe in that, right? Because again, they don't want us to know. But regardless of whether you believe in astrology or not, these energies are hitting us, right? Like this is alchemical astronomy, like referring to true sidereal through that terminology, because there are observable and demonstrable facts or themes as far as these effects of like when certain luminaries or planets are in a certain position, they're passing through. So that planet or luminary or point has its own archetypal theme or energy that it's radiating, right? Like in the analogy that I use when I'm teaching astrology, I give the theater analogy that like the planet is the character in a play. The zodiac or the constellation, the grouping of stars, which has its own archetypal energy, is like the costume, right? So like the planet puts on the costume of whatever constellation it's moving through. And then those energies are transmitted to Earth, right? And it basically creates weather. It's energetic weather. It's not totally predeterministic. You know, it's free will and predetermination exist in the same instance because everything is a paradox, right? But it definitely does create predispositions and situations and the probability of certain things happening in your life or as a collective based on that, right? And so yeah, that's basically where we're at right now with the current transit, is that we're moving as a collective. The events, the energetic weather, the alchemical weather that's being created by the luminaries moving through the constellations is influencing the collective to move from a place of the external locus of control, putting your authority outside of yourself, hustle and grind, your value being connected to your productivity, all of those sorts of modes of operation, even just the intellectualization, right? And like moving from the head to the heart kind of idea is probably the most simple way to explain that. And in order for that to happen, like there's just as much destruction in the universe as there is creation. Like everything that is created or built must be destroyed, because otherwise it just can't go on with endless creation, right? If you even think about like the forest, right? Like the new growth in the forest is supported by the old nurse logs that have fallen, right? So it's like we need to have that destruction. So that's basically where we're at right now. Like we're at the end of an epoch. Like we are living in really interesting times as far as the energetics are concerned and how that is starting to play out on the world stage and in the governments that were experiencing the shifts, and as far as how that is affecting the collective, there's going to be polarization with that too, right? Like there's going to be a section of the collective that is realizing this, people who are tuning into these sorts of transmissions and joining Soultivation and doing the work and, working to calm their body down and practicing turning their attention inwards to develop that undeniable connection with source and the oneness. Oh my God, when I start talking about that, like I just get such a warm, fuzzy feeling, and like I am like a little bit fevered right now. So like the fact that I'm feeling a little warm, fuzzy, source is like, yeah, honey, say it more, right? Like that undeniable connection to source. Like this is how I get through the fuckery that is being a single mom living in late stage capitalism. Like it's like I know things are hard. There's challenges. But ultimately, whatever happens to me, I know that I'm good. Like even if I die, if my physical vessel ceases to exist or meets some sort of harm in a way that is fatal, or even life altering, like when you're connected to source in that intimate way, by practicing turning your attention inwards and like reinforcing that on a regular basis, like you can feel that it's all just an experience, and it's not to take things flippantly or like to go too far into nihilism, but it is nihilism in a way. Like it's like cheerful nihilism, it's like understanding that nothing really matters in the sense that like it's okay if you make a mistake or something bad happens, right? Like nothing really matters, but not taking it so far that you're like nothing matters, like I'm gonna do shitty things, because what you do and how you behave and how you feel is what creates your reality, right? And so there's going to be a certain subsection of the population that is living this and experiencing this, and this is their day to day, and paying attention to the astronomical, like the alchemical astronomy, the true sidereal transits. You can essentially, like, it feels like a permission slip for me a lot of the time. My plan, I'm going to show you guys today's astrology, and then I'm going to show you how I DIY transit charts. So that's how you take the collective transit. So like we're looking at today's astrology, where everything is the snapshot of where everything is in the celestial environment, the neutrino stream. Then like your birth chart, right? And this is why knowing what time you were born is important, because it's very specific as far as capturing the specific imprint or like a snapshot of exactly where everything was the moment that your soul entered the neutrino stream, right? So like that snapshot, you can overlay it with the current transit, and then it's kind of like bingo. Like cosmic fucked up bingo sometimes, right? Where you're like, like right now, Chiron, which is our wounded healer. Okay, Chiron is an asteroid that wherever it is in your chart is where you're going to have the biggest wounds. Okay, Chiron in the collective, where it is currently, is in the high degrees of Pisces. And it is almost exactly opposing the sun. So it's like directly across the wheel from the sun, which is in Virgo, the sister sign of Pisces. And the opposition between that is creating tension within the collective, as far as the sun, the masculine doing energy, being in Virgo, really motivating us to get our poop in a group, to like get a system, to get a plan, to get, organized, precision, improvement. Virgo is like taking the inspiration or the downloads from the depths of Pisces, like the collective unconsciousness, and reaching into that collective unconsciousness and then bringing it into the world, right? Like that's how Virgo and Pisces work together. Pisces is the vast feminine waters of the collective unconscious, the ethers, the most spiritual, the most spacey, right? The deepest of the depths as far as the intangibility and what it lies beyond the physical. And then Virgo is the opposite of that. So it's like the precision to take that expansive creative vision and build something with it. It's the alchemist, like, but also still spiritual, right? Like Virgo is also known as the healer, or like people, like a nurse kind of energy, or like a nun almost kind of idea, right? So it's like service in the day to day. I see harnessing the Pisces Virgo axis in general as like really, really allowing that space for the feminine to serve, or the masculine to serve the masculine, the masculine to serve the feminine. Happens when I'm like not feeling good. Sometimes my brain's like not saying though. It's like there's like a disconnect. I start to channel, and then like my brain pops in, and it's like, wait a minute. But that's basically the theme, right? So it's like the mutable water, mutable earth. That is like the spiritual dimension, the spiritual axis within the zodiac, taking that flexible creation from Pisces and bringing it into the world. So that is what's going on right now. Like that's the primary theme that we're seeing playing out in the current transits. And when I look, so if you look, I'm going to show you my birth chart. My sun is in Pisces in the 10th house, which basically means that I'm here to be a spiritual teacher. And directly opposing that in my birth chart is Pluto conjunct Saturn in Virgo. Now, I don't know how much you guys know about astrology on this call, or anybody who's watching this afterwards, but like Sun opposing Pluto is one of the most challenging, one of the most challenging aspects to have. Pluto conjunct Saturn is another one of the most challenging aspects that you can have, because they're the most malefic or negative planets that are in the charts, right? So like Saturn and Pluto are about restrictions. So Saturn's restrictions, lessons, karmic lessons, difficulties. And Pluto causes you, like wherever Pluto is in your chart, like you want to go really deep, like you want to go super deep. You also experience a ton of tower moments, to bring in some tarot analogies, right? So the tower is like everything falling to shit, everything like just totally a shit show, falling apart. But again, this is necessary, right? Like the tower is one of my favorite cards actually, because it's a necessary event, like a canon event, so to speak, as far as your growth and development, right? So like Pluto opposing your sun means that you're gonna have a million ego deaths in your life, and you're going to have difficulty seeing yourself clearly, or like feeling confident in putting yourself out there, right? So like where we're at right now, the sun is on top. This current sun in a current transit is almost directly on top of my natal Pluto, and very close to natal Saturn. So those wounds are getting illuminated, as far as, and that energy in Virgo is like me getting caught in details, me needing things to be perfect, me being a friggin' mental case, right? Like the shadow of Virgo is like too much mental energy. It's an earth sign, but it's ruled by Mercury, right? So it's like analysis paralysis, perfectionism, think like doing all the work to come up with a plan, but then like not doing anything with the plan kind of idea, right? And then Chiron right on top of my sun in Pisces is like all of these wounds that like are coming up from my current experience in this body, but also the collective karma and trauma of being persecuted for being a magical person and a teacher, like even in my direct, I'm not sure karma works in like a direct, like I in a past life did this thing and now I'm reliving that. Like I feel like that is a new age way of interpreting it, that it's also kind of limiting, right? Like it's not like it kind of reinforces that illusion of separation, or like I'm an individual and I've existed in these different bodies over time, but it's more like we as a collective, we're all one being, right? So like all of these different potentials and circumstances have played out, and certain souls have subscribed to certain themes of karma coming through. So so I'm not sure if it's specifically like I have been burned at the stake or like persecuted in a really horrific way for being a magical person, and like so therefore my desire to put myself out there as a spiritual teacher has been a process, right? Like it's been inhibited by this underlying fear that's hanging out in my causal body. So I'm not sure if it's like me specifically. There's also like the genetics, or like DNA kind of aspect of it, because in my matrilineal line, so like my mom's family, my mom's mom was the first generation. She was a first generation Canadian from Finland, and that her grandma, it's like, I can't remember how many generations, like 3 or 4 generations. Her grandma was a famous mystic in Finland. She was like a world renowned fortune teller, essentially, right? So like that's like in my, that's, and like you exist, the matrilineal line especially too, if you're like a feminine mystic, like looking into your feminine heritage is super interesting, because we are basically like Russian dolls in embryos, right? So like you as a feminine, like a female creature who can have babies, to get specific about what I'm defining as far as that is concerned, you exist in your mother when she is in her mother, right? Like I think it's a zygote is like the term, or like the cell, like the cluster of cells that was your mother had you in it. Like you were in that cluster of cells that was in her mother, right? So like we and a lot of behavior. There's science and studies on this too, as far as like rats and studying behavior, because rats reproduce pretty quickly, so they're one of the most tested subjects as far as this stuff is concerned, with behaviors and how that is inherited through DNA. But like, you know, we learn through our DNA what is safe and what isn't. You know, if you traumatize, you put a group of rats in a box and you traumatize them with a particular stimulus that is typically benign, right? So normally something that a rat wouldn't be afraid of, but you traumatize the shit out of like a certain generation of rats with this whatever, like make it a clown or something, right? Like, so then like future generations of rats that did not have the experience of being traumatized by that clown are then afraid of that clown. Okay, so like I feel like some of that is also coming into play when it comes to the inheritance of this particular wound, the witch wound, right? Like the fear of putting yourself out there. So this is like super predominant in my chart right now. Why don't I just show you guys, now that I've chit chatted? I didn't mean to go that far into, I didn't have the chat open. Hi guys. Okay, glad what I'm saying is resonating. Like, oh, there's chit chats. Okay, how did I share the screen again? Let's show you guys. Okay, is this showing up on the screen? Can somebody go off mute and tell me, because I can't see this. I can't.
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. So in this mode, I can't see myself, but I want to be able to point. So I'm going to do that here. So this is a snapshot of today's astrology. So today we're starting this week a bit late, so I didn't do, the moon was in Gemini earlier this week, and then it was Cancer yesterday, and today it's transitioning from Cancer into Leo. The moon moves 13 degrees in the sky every day. It's the fastest mover. It's the closest luminary to us. So today, like we've had, not just today, sorry, we have had for a while this kite formation happening here. We can see across the middle, we've got an opposition, the red line, between Venus in Virgo, which is an uncomfortable position. So Venus is like values, love, relationships, not just with other people, but like everything, like your relationship to yourself, your habits that you have, your old ways of being, whatever, right? So like that in Virgo is kind of an uncomfortable energy. Like Venus in Virgo for the next month or so is going to bring this focus of like putting your relationships under a microscope, or like a fine-tooth comb, or, you know, really, really examining what relationships are leading you towards this more heart-centered, spacious, feminine, expansive way of operating as the baseline, and what relationships are perpetuating or reinforcing the old paradigm of hustle and grind, intellectualism, working hard to prove yourself kind of energy. And I want to also add into here too, because it's not like working hard just goes out the window when you're operating from your heart space as your baseline, but it means that the work that you're doing is serving your heart-centered vision, right? The feminine comes first. The space, the intuition, the magic, right? The magic needs time to unfold. That is where the inspiration comes to do the frickin' things, right? And when you're doing the things from a heart-centered way of operating, then everything is way more manageable and also more successful. Okay, so like that's Venus and Virgo. We've had a lot of heavy Virgo energy. I mean, it is Virgo season with the sun about 2/3, more than halfway through Virgo. We have had also Mercury and Mars, who are just recently into Libra in this energy as well. Okay, so that has been the heavy theme. But Venus in particular has been in this opposition to Neptune and Saturn as well, because it's close enough to be considered conjunct still for a social planet. So, Neptune in Pisces is like a double whammy of Pisces energy, because this is its ruler. Okay, so this is basically bringing, I know it's been a while that this has been going on, and like, I can't remember what the pace is. I feel like it's going to be a few more years of like Neptune moving through Pisces, because it's such a big constellation, and these social planets or the outer planets are slow movers, right? So I can't remember offhand how long it's going to be, but this is giving like the veil is very thin. It's creating circumstances and environments, energetic predispositions where we have access to all sorts of crazy stuff, you know, like your ability to have downloads, to have transcendental experiences, like spontaneous out of body experiences, like all sorts of weird stuff that like you can't really explain, right? Because it is beyond the brain's capability to understand the physical world. So this opposition here is like wanting to, like, having access to this. This can also, from a shadow aspect, I just described it in like pretty positive terms, and like bringing magic to our lives, but like it can also make things really freaking murky. It can bring illusions to everything, like everything feels a bit weird and like groggy. Also, depending on your design and your life experiences, this energy in Pisces can really lead to like apathy or disembodiment, like wanting to leave your body, whether you're using substances or you're scrolling endlessly or you're getting lost in codependent relationships and you're having rose-colored glasses kind of energy, right? So like we are wanting to bring this precision and improvement energy, refinement to our relationships in the day-to-day, but it's not quite clear on how to do this, or depending on what the relationship is, you could be getting caught in stories or nostalgia or whatever. Okay, so this is the primary tension in the kite, and it's being supported by, so there's a grand trine happening. You can see the triangle in the middle of the chart here with Venus and Virgo, Pluto freshly stationed direct, so it was retrograde since May. In Capricorn, the very tail end of Capricorn. I would consider this cuspy with Sagittarius energy as well, right? So Pluto, the death bringer, the ender of cycles, in Capricorn is the dismantling of the patriarchy, the hustle grind, all of those oppressive structures. And then Uranus in Taurus in retrograde. So whenever a planet is in retrograde, it just means that we're going to have a more internalized experience of this. So Uranus is a social planet, generational, collective energy of sudden shifts and changes, right? In Taurus is your physical world, right? With this being internalized, like this energy is really giving, like, the more that you calm your body down and put your attention inwards, you can change your freaking world. You can change your reality drastically, as long as you are able to operate on faith and fumes until it shows up, right? Like this is the thing that gets us so fucked up most of the time. I'm sorry, I keep swearing. I don't have much of a filter when I'm feeling not very good, so to me to rein it in sometimes. But this is what gets us messed up when it comes to reality creation, and why the inverted society is able to operate the way that it does, because it takes time. Like the etheric moves so much faster, right? You can change how you feel internally and hold that frequency for a bit of time, but if that's not your overriding baseline for a good chunk of time, the physical world isn't going to have a chance to actually shift, because it's got more density. It has more laws on it. The laws reinforcing the density, pushing down on you, preventing you from moving from the head, your mind, looking outside of you, intellectualizing, into your heart, where you're able to see a more interconnected, spacious, and magical reality. Okay, so like, but the energies are really, the velocity of the universe is, we're in a quickening, right? We're moving towards a golden age again, as far as that polarity is concerned. So like, even though it does take longer for the physical world to shift, when it comes to reality creation, like, there is a potential for like sudden shakeups and like big shifts, as long, again, like I've been this is my personal mantra, is like faith in fumes, like just like, I can do it. Everything, nothing really matters, and like everything's great, and like the more that you can feel into that reality and stabilizing, like an Earth grand trine is actually really stabilizing when there's chaotic or tension kind of energy in the collective, right? So this is really giving, ground yourself into your present moment, stabilize yourself in the knowing that you are the curator of your reality, and just repeat steps 1 and 2, calm your body down, turn your attention inwards, and you really can exert change. So we've got that grand trine supporting this tension between Venus in Virgo and Neptune in Pisces, and then also supporting each other, right? So like Neptune is getting support from each of these elements. So that is the primary focus, I would say. The moon today will be making, like, it's transgressing between Cancer and Leo. So like, the moon in Cancer, that's its ruler. So it's like pretty comfortable. The moon in Leo is bringing like a certain level of charisma or creativity, passion, pleasure. As far as your emotions are concerned, you may be feeling more outgoing over the next couple of days. The moon is going to be in Leo for the rest of the week, basically, before it makes its way into Virgo. The new moon, I think, is on Tuesday next week. I'm going to make a video for that soon. And it'll be in the higher degrees of Virgo. So we're wrapping up. We're in the third quarter, basically, of the lunar cycle this week. And the last new moon we had was also in Virgo, right? The early degrees of Virgo. So now we're going to have another Virgo new moon, but in the higher degrees, which is like the higher octave, which is I get to bring in a more fourth way in. Everything happens in octaves, right? So you're moving, it's the same theme, but up a key, right? So taking that energy of refinement and practicality, service, improvement, discernment, organization, the magic in the mundane, like the healer in real life, the practical spirituality, like that, all of that energy that I know that is my personal mission, is to bring that energy to the collective. We're going to have the new moon next week there. So we're moving towards that. The moon today is making a square, so having a little bit of tension between Mars in Libra, which is bringing more energy to the focus of relationships, right? Like Mars is how you do things. It's your drive, your desires. Libra is all about relationships, right? Like that, and justice and things being fair and balanced. And then Mercury's getting pretty close. I think they're going to be conjunct either at the end of this week or early next week. I forgot to have my notes close to me, but they're getting pretty darn close. So it's going to be soon that they're going to be conjunct. So this just means how you're thinking and how you're doing are on the same page. And it's focused on relationships, justice, fairness, things balancing out. So that is reinforcing or bringing more energy to this theme of relationship balance. And really examining what relationships are good for you and what are not. And remember that there really is no good or bad as far as judgment, value judgments are concerned, but you're just thinking about like what sort of relationships are bringing you towards a more magical, spacious, heart-centered way of being, and what relationships are leading you towards more contraction, density, and laws being placed on you. Okay, so we have got that tension. And then the other thing, I was already talking about this a little bit, and I'm going to show you the next slide, which is an overlay transit chart for my particular birth chart. We can see here the opposition. It's not shown with a line on this particular chart, but Chiron over here, the wounded healer in retrograde. So again, a more internalized experience of your wounds around receivership. Pisces is that feminine vacuum energy, remember? It is about receiving, it is about expanding, it is about intuition, magic, the feminine essence, the black hole. So your wounds around that. And then the sun directly opposing it. So there's going to be tension between the illumination or solar focus on the minutia of your day to day, taking care of your house, taking care of your body, getting a plan, bringing that magic into reality, right? So you might be feeling a push pull at the collective in general, this push pull between wanting to have a more magical existence in your day to day, trying to build a life that supports this new cadence or pace, and then having these wounds, whether they're wounds from your direct experience, like in this lifetime, in this body, I have experienced significant interpersonal turbulence. It's like a recurring theme in my life of like turbulence in relationships and being misunderstood and being villainized or concurrently, because like that's putting me into kind of a victim mindset, to say it that way, right? Like I am actively choosing relationships that are turning out that way because I want to have the experience of the trauma that comes with it, right? So like that it conjunct the inherited or collective karma of the witch wound is I'm really feeling it because it's right on my sun, right? So this might be a little overwhelming visually for you. It isn't for me because I made it, but basically, I have a DIY video on how I did this that I will post in Soultivation with the replay here. I'll make a little post kind of like I did after the moon circle last week. So I'll post the DIY video on how I did this. I just used Canva to overlay screenshots of my chart. So my chart is on the back, the more transparent. And then this is the current transit that we were just looking at. Sorry, I just got distracted by a message saying that they want to come. They were trying to get in, but then they couldn't. Anywho, so I just overlaid it basically. This is the current transit, and you just turn it so that it lines up, and then you can see where everything is right now. So the inside wheel here is where everything is currently, and this outside wheel is where everything was when I was born, right? So we can see here the sun was in the high degrees of Pisces when I was born, and here is Chiron lining up directly with that. So that's what I mean. Or, if you're watching astrology content and they're like saying this is sitting on that, that's what that means, right? Like Chiron is sitting on my sun right now. Okay. And here like we can see like my biggest wounds are like my Chiron in my chart is in Taurus, which is self-worth and also resources. And it's right next to my moon, right? So like my relationships with my emotions and my finances and my self-worth are all some of the most challenging situations that I'll have. Then we can see here looking across the wheel, opposing that, the natal sun, which is right here on the inside wheel, is getting pretty close to Pluto and Saturn in Virgo in my birth chart. Okay, so this is how you can start to put it together and see, like it's this, and Chiron is a slow mover. It takes 52 years to go around the zodiac. So like it's been on my sun for a while, and it's gonna be for a little bit longer, right? And like actually, even looking back at it now as I'm saying this, like it's been about a year. Oh, it is almost my anniversary actually. So like I made a video like in October last year. I finally was like motivated or pushed. Actually, like the gentle invitation from the universe became a shove in the direction of creating content about sidereal astrology, true sidereal astrology, when everybody was talking about Pluto going into Aquarius last year, right? Like it was early November that it was supposed to go into Aquarius in the tropical system. And so that I made a video on it being like, hey guys, it's not like, look at the sky, it's not there, right? And that video went viral. And that was like kind of the beginning of my re-entry into my dharma of being a spiritual teacher. But prior to that, I had a period of like 6 months where I burned my business to the ground. Like before this, I was doing coaching, mentorship, women's circles, group programs, readings using tropical astrology, human design, and gene keys rooted in tropical astrology. And 6 months, it's like early 2020, what year is it? Early 2024. It's 2025. Yeah. It's like early 2024 is when I had the realization about the real sky. I burned my business to the ground, had a 6-month manic episode where I was like, nothing's real. Like, what am I doing? And I was like, I don't want to be a teacher anymore. I'm teaching people the wrong things. I just went into like chop wood, carry water mode, and like, just magic in the mundane, leaned into my cleaning business. That's my residential cleaning business is how I make most of my income now. But then I just kept getting the push to like start talking about it online. Literally the first video I make about it gets over 200,000 views and like gains me a couple thousand followers, right? And so it's interesting that this has been all of the time of like Chiron sitting directly on my sun, these wounds around showing up as a spiritual teacher here to push a new paradigm forward, and like even just looking at my chart, I'm literally built for it. Like I've got the Pisces sun in the 10th house. My Mars and my Mercury are in Aries in the 11th house, which means that I am built for spicy expression. I act decisively. I am a leader. I initiate. And I kind of like conflict, like I kind of get off on making people angry and my rising is in Gemini, right? So like I have that trickster energy and the Taurus stellium makes it so that I have a really long fuse. Like I don't really get angry very often, but when I do, you better watch out. So that's basically, this is how I use astrology for myself, right? And like, moving forward, feeling the power of my design and this new paradigm and sharing it with the world. I'm looking forward to Chiron moving off of my sun, so I feel a little bit less like there's less work to do when it comes to showing up in that kind of way. But yeah, that's basically how am I on here? Okay. That's basically how I do it. That's how I use astrology. And this is how I teach it as well. So for those of you who are on the call or those who are watching afterwards, just looking at the comments here. Karen, what does an Ophiuchus ascendant mean? So Ophiuchus is the anomaly in the true sidereal system. So Ophiuchus is the serpent bearer. It's like the Greek mythology of it is a masculine representation of like Asclepius holding the snake because he like was exiled for bringing people back to life kind of idea. But my interpretation of Ophiuchus is a feminine energy. The serpent is feminine, right? So it's right over the galactic center, which is a black hole, right? I know you popped into the call a bit late, so I don't know, or like beyond, after I was riffing for a bit on like fourth way laws of creation, but essentially everything is born from the galactic center because it's a black hole, which is the feminine essence, the vacuum energy of our universe. So Ophiuchus is right over that, right? So, and it's a short window that because it's a small constellation. So Ophiuchus is like the higher octave of Scorpio. It creates a death and rebirth portal. So all of that to say that like a rising in that. So like your rising sign is how people see you or how you interface with the world. So people probably see you as like a pretty mystical person. You're probably somebody who is a natural healer. You're probably somebody who people feel really comfortable telling secrets to, or like you also probably have had a lot of death and rebirth type of like cycles in your life or experiences of like changing how you interact, or you also could be like a social chameleon in the sense that you can really mirror anybody and show up in any environment and fit in appear to fit in, I should say. That might not be how you experience it, but that's how other people see you. As far as that goes. So Ophiuchus placements are always really interesting. And even just looking back at all of this, my daughter, I have one child, she's almost 16, and she was born right in the middle of the Ophiuchus portal. So she's an Ophiuchus sun. And like, so it's kind of the significance of like having a child born in that portal, but also me becoming a mother in the portal of Ophiuchus, like, it's so, and knowing her, like, she's like an old lady in a child's body. Like, I swear she's my mom sometimes, the way it goes. Yeah, right on. Honestly, right? I've done dozens and dozens of readings of all sorts of different systems at this point. Like I said, this was a full-time business that I was running for a number of years, doing these based on the tropical. And I always got good feedback of the readings, right? Human design, gene keys, whatever readings I was doing for people. But since I switched, like I started doing true sidereal readings about a year ago, like when I started bringing myself online also. And like, I have literally every single person is like blown away because it's just so resonant. It just like clicks the frequency just a little bit deeper. So yeah, if you're interested in learning more about that, this is what I do. I have, if you haven't looked, I'm not sure if you guys are, some people in here are from my audience already, so I don't want to over explain, but like I have like a freebie, like a ChatGPT prompt guide that you can get to read your own chart that way. I have an ebook, I have a self-paced study course, and I also do readings as well. So if you would like me to read your chart, that is something that I can do. And I also have, just to kind of wrap things up for today, I have been percolating a little offering to really step into my dharma as a spiritual teacher and curating an experience for neurodivergent or sensitive women in particular on the path, looking to harness their true sidereal astrology, both the birth chart and the current transits, basically doing what I showed you with the example of how I read my own chart. And that way I'll teach you how to do that yourself. It is a group program that is going to last 6 months. I'm calling it the Coven Council 6 Moon Rite because we're going to follow the cadence of the lunar cycle. We're going to start on a new moon. And we're going to, it's going to be a group container, and that will have a new moon call where it'll be kind of like a lecture where I'm giving the astrology, and we'll set our intentions based on that. And then we'll have another group call on the full moon that will be similar to if you guys were on, I think you were both on the full moon call that I did last week where we did the somatic movement. So we'll do some somatic movement. And then it's going to be a council where you're addressing your sisters. So the idea with this is to bring cosmic black sheep, neurodivergent like women, but not necessarily people who identify as neurodivergent. Like anybody who's really spiritual, I feel like is on the spectrum in some way, shape, or form. They just might be resistant to that label. But highly sensitive women who have difficulty maintaining relationships or fitting into places. The Coven Council is going to be a group of women with that same experience. So the idea is that one group call is going to be me mostly talking. The second group call is going to be a council where every woman gets a chance to address the council and whatever you want to bring up, whether you want to get advice or whether you just want to share and be seen. That's what the group calls are going to be like. We're going to have a private group here on Soultivation with a private member chat where I'm going to be active and responding to your learnings. And then you'll also get one one-on-one session with me per each month. So in total, there'll be 12 group calls, 6 lecture, kind of me talking at you guys calls, 6 somatic movement and council calls, 6 individual sessions with me, plus the interactive aspect in the Soultivation group. And I'm going to gift you each the my self-paced study course to do as pre-work if you haven't done it already. It's called 13 Nacha Mama's Astrology. Because it's going to start in January. So this is, I haven't even finished the landing page for it yet. Like it's literally just been percolating in my soul and it's starting to feel like I need to start talking about it. So I wanted you guys who are on this call and those who are going to be watching this replay to be the first to know about it and offer our super discounted offer for the next 48 hours. This offer will be priced at $3,333 or like $555 per month kind of idea, which is a great price in general. But if you want to save $1,100 and hop in, the paid in full price, the special offer is $2,222 for that 6-month container for the next 48 hours. Or if you want to do installments, I will accept payment plans, and that will be $2,444. But there's my little getting over my sales fears, putting that offer out there. That is about all that I think I have to say today as far as my segment. Oh, and my readings are 222. So if you want me just to read your chart, it's $222 in order to do that. And I do those via video recording. So they're not live readings. Basically what I do is I research the chart and then I do a screen recording and a voiceover. And it's usually about an hour of me info dumping on your chart. So, and then I put it on YouTube as an unlisted video that you can watch as many times as you want. So yeah, do you guys, either of you who are here live on the call, have any other questions or reflections? Anything else that wants to come through? Awesome. Yeah, just reach out to me. You can message me here on Soultivation or the other platforms as Alrighty. Okay, well, if that's that, thank you so much for both of you for being here live. And thank you to everybody who watched this on the recording. And have a great day.